Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Ronin Ramble podcast. Topics for today are Evo 2020, Marvel, Iroha, RR Rivals, and social media. That leads us to our special guest, the social media specialist and NorCal event organizer, legendary Kevin Marcato, also known as the Thagagaguy. And here is your host, Higashi!
Yes, thank you so much again, James, for your awesome intros. Never get tired of it. What is going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us on another Ronin Rambles, and we got some stuff to talk about. So we saw Jeff YJK kind of get washed there, right? I mean, I don't
That's
want
pretty
to be a
free.
little.
That's pretty free. I mean, let's be real here. I mean, that was 10-3. 10-3.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Not a good look. But we all love Jeff. He works hard. He tries his best, and he gave it his all. But
Yeah,
Kyle P definitely just kind of destroyed him there.
if anything, I kind of hope he takes a look at Tyga's game, because we were actually talking about this a little bit earlier, in which Jeff has a tendency to just kind of try to overwhelm you with his style, right? Like he's playing like I say 1 to 2 layers of metagames, but he rotates them so fast that people get lost. Whereas Taiga plays a little bit deeper, right? He has a little bit more setups. He's also a little bit more patient, so he starts having these upswings and downswings, the sort of ebb and flow that helps control the pace of the match.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, definitely check the tapes, Jeff. Definitely check the tapes. They're there for a reason, and you need to use them. But yeah, good stuff from Taiga though. Uh,
What do you think was the big downfall for Jeff, and what do you think was a really big good strategy that Kyle P actually implemented that got him the win?
Well, I think there's a couple of things, right? First of all, like Charlotta plays very well, in my opinion, against Lancelot, right? Because she has the jump, the jump L's. She has the ability to OS the hell out of him. Plus, like her jump arcs, the pace at which she plays, she puts a lot of pressure on him, especially when he doesn't have defense. So he has to commit usually to the EX teleport and whatnot, right? And every time that Jeff tried to do that, he committed way too hard, too often, that it became a read for Kyle P, right? And when he hesitated, that was also a read for Kyle P. Basically, his escape and his offense using that EX teleport sort of fucked him over, because he used it in too many situations. And so like his flow of offense and defense using that tool just was taken away as a result.
yeah.
When we watched Taiga play, it was a lot different.
Yeah, he held his ground, blocked a lot more, took more throws, and stood his ground. Honestly, he had more setups as well. Something I noticed. Something that I think Jeff needs to take a look at and steal for himself. But
He held on to his turn.
yes,
Yeah.
If he quote unquote lost his turn, right, it was off of a throw. Like he's willing to eat the throw, or at least he'll late tech it, right, and he's willing to eat the overhead. Like it was not that bad, right? Versus overcommitting on something and getting blown the fuck up for it, and then you lose half your health or more. Like he forced Taiga, that is, forced Kyle to change up his game plan to open up Taiga. But Taiga kind of did that as sort of a bait, so to speak, right? It was like, okay, now that you've tried doing these things this many times in this many scenarios, I'm going to look for that exact moment where you're going to try and dash up and throw. And we saw one of those dash up throws get blown up. We saw some of the overheads getting blown up. We start seeing a lot of Kyle's mobility getting blown up as well. And it was a lot due to a long set, Taiga being patient and waiting to pick his spots.
So who would you, and just throwing this out, who would you want to see next week out of all the competitors that we've seen throughout the last couple of weeks for Ronin Rumble? And also, I'd like to say congratulations to the team for getting to 10 straight weeks of Ronin Rumble. 10 straight weeks of Ronin Rumble for Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. Good job, folks.
hell yeah.
I'm kind of curious about Taiga's opinion, to be honest with you. I mean, he said it in the chat, right? Mind if I give an opinion? I totally wouldn't mind at all.
Of course. You're always welcome. Please do, in fact. But in terms
as
of
for
next week,
I
next
want to hear
week.
your guys' thoughts.
I mean, since we can't get the Janet silent because of I guess sponsor issues. Maybe if we can get Shinku in Jan, possibly get it full straight to 10 or foot to 10, I should say, and see how that goes. But I kind of want to see what Shinko would do in like a longer set.
You know, from my opinion, I really want to see a Percival, and I'd really like to see Chris CCH versus Lord Jimmy Bones. Like, I've not seen a Percival mirror, and I want to see who. The first time I saw them play, Chris CCH got washed, but I don't know if that's the case now, considering how well he's been doing in the last couple of tournaments.
I mean, Chris CCH is a really talented player, as we all know, and so is Jimmy.
Very young.
He's very young, yeah. One of the youngsters out there. Seattle as well. But Percival Mirror, I don't think I've ever seen that before, actually.
Yeah,
Never seen it, not even on YouTube.
they're unicorns.
I've watched those matches on YouTube, and yeah, and even the Japanese players, I've personally never seen a high caliber Percival mirror, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, we've only, like, the only Percival I know of is Dogura in Japan. I think there's one other one that is pretty highlighted out there, but Percival is just not a very popular character for unknown reasons because he's really good. I think he's super strong right now.
I mean, like when you think about Percival, right? Like a couple of Japanese tier lists have him at the top. I mean, the character literally has every tool in the bag, right? He has a fireball, he has an uppercut, he even has a command grab.
Yeah, a one-button command grab.
Which is unique.
I mean,
Considering that, well, Ladiva has a one-frame command grab that can be one button, but that's only because we have easy inputs.
I mean, doing the 360 is still
not
good,
the same.
but
Yeah,
it's a very different kind of command grab though. But
yeah. I mean, it's not the command grab that gives you the kind of mid-screen Oki that, let's say, Ladiva would get, right? Because Ladiva gets that mid-screen command grab, she gets Oki. Whereas, unless you're using EXs to follow up after command grab, then you're not getting Oki. So there's one major difference between those two command grabs. If he was in the corner, he doesn't need to spend EXs because he already has them in the corner, so he can get an Oki setup right after a DP, right? Just force the pressure right after that. I mean, they're soft Okis, but essentially he's still plus on the situation. He's just not. It's just the opponent's not waking up. So there's a big difference right there in terms of the command grab and what it's able to do within a match.
I would definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Anthony, you want to read this for us?
I do. All right.
Taiga's opinion.
Okay. All right. Cool.
All right. Taiga. So YJK's problem was 6 things. He tends to use defensive resources on offense, 2-2C for setups. Number 2, he's really not optimal, 100% agreed. Number 3, his anti-air game is really lacking on normal hits. Number 4, he has absolutely no set play. Number 5, he makes no use of fireballs, which I think is really good in the matchup. And number 6, he over-relies on 660 too much in the neutral. All great points.
I agree with all of it, actually.
Those are great points, but honestly, I'd call them fighting words. I'd be like, I want to put $50 up for YJK right now after that assassination. Jesus Christ.
I feel like Taiga would assassinate him, dude. I feel like Taiga would
he's not wrong, though. He's honestly not wrong.
If you had to make a call right now, who would you bet on? Taiga or YJK?
Damn, man. I love G-Dragon,
I'm putting you guys on the spot.
I would definitely say Taiga.
I'll lose money for G-Dragon. I'll put up money, even though I know he's probably gonna lose it. But I'll put up money for my G-Dragon. I will.
I don't put money where I know I'm gonna lose my money. I'll put it that way.
Straight up.
Okay.
Even if you gotta bet against the homies, dude, you still gotta bet smart.
Yeah, I don't, dude. I can't tell you how many majors I've went to where people knew like one of my homies was up, and I know the matchup, and I'm like, he's gonna lose. I'm not gonna bet that shit. I'm not. Dude, I love my homies, but I'm not gonna lose money for them.
Fair point.
Yeah. And if they're gonna bet for me, they better bet because they think I'm winning, not because you're my friend, dude. Let me give them some money. Like, fuck that, dude. That's dumb.
Yeah, we'll
I don't
Fair.
wanna see that.
Okay. All right.
we'll see. Maybe it'll happen. Who knows? But
Maybe.
let's
I
His
want to.
ability to adapt.
I want to see some improvements, and I want to see YJK back on the court, showing us that he can do some of these, at least some of the things that Tegan mentioned. Because I'm gonna have to 100% agree, especially when it comes to optimization. And the optimization is not necessarily offensive optimization; it's defensive conversions to offense. That's the difference.
yeah.
Whereas
Take the notes.
Tega is doing defensive things that is leading to offense, not forcing the offense and getting the damage off of it, even though he can. So he has two ways to convert offense and two ways to change pace. And that's something that YJK doesn't currently have, in my opinion, based on what just happened.
Yep.
True,
Yep.
but I also would say that YJK does have the capabilities of doing really good. Especially if we take a look at his Ronin Rumble results, he's gotten second twice in each Ronin Rumble that he's participated in. I mean, he's scored top 8 consistently. I can say the same thing for Kyle, but I've never. Well, I can say that Kyle has gotten to winners finals. I don't know if he's gotten to top 2. Like, I don't know if he's ever gotten a grand finals.
Mm-hmm. And just for clarity, it sounds like I'm blowing up Jeff, which I am, by the way. But
Totally.
at the same time, I've known Jeff longer than literally anybody in here. I've met this dude since he was a kid, like playing at the arcades and Third Strike. Like, I know how hungry this kid can get, and if he's not gonna work on his craft, he's gonna get bodied. He needs to hear that shit.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. But enough about talking shit about Jeff, though. We all love him, but I mean, sometimes you gotta take the notes, man. Take the notes. Just gotta take the notes. But
Just gotta get better. Gotta get better. Every day's a learning opportunity.
Mhm.
So make the work happen, put the effort in, and that's what will show the kind of significant progress that needs to be shown to be better.
Couldn't agree more. But
Anyway,
yeah. If you guys don't
Transitioning
mind,
to the next topic.
yes, let's briefly talk about Iroha, maybe. So one thing I saw that she has is a parry, and she can parry into SSM. That's pretty dangerous.
Oh, that's not the end of it. She can cancel her parry into another parry.
Ooh,
what?
that's cool.
Yeah, you guys didn't get an opportunity to see it. There's a guy in Japan that literally recreated Evo Moment 37 using Yoshitora and Iroha, and just he parried Yoshitora's multi-slash attack, all of them, and then he jumped. He did a neutral jump heavy, and then just went into WFT. These are full damage. It was almost 60%. It was crazy.
That sounds gross.
That's really
Like-
good. Wow.
A character that's able to parry multi-hit moves like that is something I've never seen before in Samurai Showdown. At least for all of the characters that we've seen, that's nuts. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I see a lot of people labbing her and saying that she's one of the stronger characters at the moment.
I think that's because she breaks the mold. There are characters that need these particular tools, right? To be strong, you need a pretty heavy hitting Farsi. If you have a cancelable normal, your far reaching B into a special that does some significant damage, it's good. That's what makes Shizumaro such a really great character, because he has really good mobility options. He has really high damaging normals. He has cancelable normals, and he also has a WFT and an SSM that have great utility. For Iroha, she doesn't need those things, but she has a particular tool that's different than everyone else, and it has enough freedom in terms of its design to really shake up how things work in this game.
Interesting.
Well, I think it's a good call out, right? It's almost like if you're going to build, I'll put it this way, right? If you're going to build a business, one of the biggest things that people look for is, do you disrupt the industry, right? In the same sense that when a new character comes out, does it disrupt the meta, a character that can disrupt the meta in a positive way can become one of the better characters, if not the best character, right? Because she breaks the mold of the game and forces the other characters to play their way. And it sounds like Iroha, at least from what I'm hearing so far, I haven't seen all the videos yet, but it sounds like Iroha is leaning towards in that direction where she's breaking the mold of the Samurai Showdown meta that has existed for about a year now.
I agree. I also think that it's gonna be a learning experience for people because in order to parry, you have to do. It's not just like a forward motion like it is in Third
Mhm.
Strike. Uh, you have to do quarter circle forward and then a button.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, for this guy to parry all of Yoshitora's like multi slashes, he had to do quarter circle forward every single time, which is reminiscent, at least to me, to Sakura's A groove combo.
Hmm.
So I'm just like, it's gonna take some time to
Shosho.
find.
Yeah, it sounds
Some
Yeah.
shosho
sounds kind of
shows.
executional.
But I mean, if someone, I think that execution is merely a matter of time. Like if someone's willing to lab it and practice it, they can consistently do anything. And I'd also say that segues very well to Marvel, where people said, "Oh, these infinites that people can do, nah, they'll never be able to do that. It's way too hard." And then give it like 6 months, and someone's already doing infinites with those characters. It's just like all someone needs is time and opportunity.
Mm.
I mean, you can even go as back as Marvel too, right? Like if people watch Marvel too, there's a particular player named Chaos, and that dude is doing fast fly, unfly combos like we've never seen before. Like nobody's ever done things like this. Even one of the best Sentinel players that came out from the West Coast, Chunksta, like he wasn't even landing the shit that Chaos was landing. So no, you're right, 100%. You give somebody the time to do it, they'll put in the time, and they'll figure out a way to make it work and make it look real good, and you just feel like shit because he just like styled on you.
Yeah. And that's what makes fighting games, at least what I miss about older fighting games. That's what makes them so interesting. The ability for you to express yourself in a different way because the game is a lot more open ended. Like there's such depth in even some simple mechanics.
Yeah, you get to personalize yourself through just execution alone. Like you just don't see that really these days. But seeing it now though, yeah, it's quite the treat.
Oh yeah. Marvel 2 was a fun game.
Mhm. All right, but let's
And
I think we could move on to our guest now. So Kevin he is the social media guy that is behind a lot of the events that you guys all well know, such as NCR, Evo, even I think he did Combo Breaker a couple times as well. And he's been around for a very long time since I know Anthony knows about all about like I Play Winner. I'm sure James knows as well. You know, if you guys don't know what I Play Winner is, it is what it is the streaming like they did all the streaming for all of NorCal for a lot of the early Street Fighter 4 and even like past that. Like that was all
Mhm.
before my time, so I'm sure these guys can indulge in that a little bit more. But yeah,
I play
Kevin.
Winter. Yeah, it's a long story. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah,
I'll
no,
let you go
Kevin.
into it.
He's been around for a very long time. He's a big Marvel head. He's super cool guy overall. If you follow him on Twitter, you'll know he's all about the memes. But let's get him on here. And
Hey guys,
Kevin. Yeah. What's up,
What's
how's
up,
it
Kevin?
man?
going? Thanks for having
yo,
me on the podcast.
Yeah, of course, of course. Nah, man, like you're doing like a lot of the social media stuff, which was always super interesting, and I've always wanted to have like a good chat with you, and I'm happy that James and Anthony are here to join me with that as well. So yeah, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey Anthony, hey James.
Hi, Kevin.
yo, how's it going?
Hope you guys are staying safe during these hard times. But
Likewise.
Yeah.
Same.
well,
Kind of going stir crazy in here.
well, luckily before I joined you guys today, for the past week or so, I actually was pretty sick. So
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, so I did have to quarantine myself for a bit.
You feeling better?
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling a lot more energetic. So happy to be here.
All right.
glad to have you.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Are you healthy yet?
I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm just following my mom's advice because she's a nurse. So I just call her up, and she
Mhm.
just tells me, "Hey, are we? First off, are we a PG rated stream
Oh, you can
podcast
say
or
fuck.
okay?" Yeah,
Not rated
basically,
R.
yeah, basically, she told me to just stay the fuck in my room, and I should be okay.
I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
hey, it sounds like you're doing just that. So,
But
well,
yeah,
hey man.
you guys wanted to talk about yeah, what did you guys want to talk about?
Well,
well,
we
I
still
think
got two more topics to go.
I mean, the first thing that I think we should try to talk about right now is not only has Evo released an announcement about Evo in general, but CPT also announced today that they are transitioning to the online format, which makes sense. You
Yeah,
know, I mean, I think they've been planning for this for a couple weeks now at the very least. But I would like to talk about Evo real quick though, because it's pretty big news. A lot of people were expecting not what we got, right? Like I think a lot of us thought that Evo would run all of these other games that have delay-based netcode online, as opposed to other games that have rollback and whatnot. But that what happened. I was very pleasantly surprised. But yeah, what do you guys think about it though so far?
Man, can you imagine running a multinational tournament for Samurai Showdown
I
and
don't
try
want
and
to
get it
imagine that.
done?
I
Oh
don't want
my
to imagine that. Can
god,
we not talk
dude.
about that?
I don't,
That's gonna be terrible,
I don't know.
man.
I, I know that's the really surface level sort of like thought process. So you just hey, it's gonna be EVO online. Every country's gonna play each other, but I don't think it's. Man, before today, I didn't think it was gonna be like that. I thought it was gonna be more like the old Evos, where you had like Evo West, Evo East Coast, and stuff like
I
that, where
remember
it's
that.
regional, but instead it's restricted to the country. Because I don't think anyone in their right minds would think it's okay to run a tournament from America to Japan and think, hey, this is gonna be a good idea. No one that's smart enough would ever think that. So I think that at some point, I don't know if they announced it yet or not, and I'm not confirming anything because I don't know anything. But I think it'll stay within you know each country's area for the most part. That's what I think.
Okay.
It's hard to say. I mean, I don't think they really announced anything in terms of even the open tournaments besides the games that were announced, which is them fighting herds, Mortal Kombat 11, KI, and Schoolgirls.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
those
dude.
are the open tournaments. From what I saw, the official mainline or like the main games that were supposed to be this year, they're gonna have exhibitions and other content. That's what they said. So I'm not sure what that really entails though.
I'm
So
not sure
guess
either.
we'll find
So
out.
I mean, not to
Um,
mention, right? Like all these games all these fighting games that are available. I mean, like that's if we think back to Evo before Street Fighter 4 was released, there was only a few games played at Evo, right? Like ST, Third Strike, Marvel, and CVS2.
CPS2, yeah.
That was it. And in today's Evo lineup, there's more than there's nine main titles, if I'm not mistaken, and then there are other titles that are being played at Evo as well. And now with netcode into consideration, because of where we are today, right? Like you're gonna have to troubleshoot 10+ different games.
Sounds
In,
Yeah,
like
forget it.
fun.
in
I'm
my
I'm just
opinion,
kidding. That's an ops nightmare.
yeah, that would have been a nightmare. I think just being the what is it, chaotic good here. I really would have liked for the main 9 games to be the only games shown at Evo, mainly because to show up the netcode. Because I think in that case it would expose a lot of the questionable infrastructure of netcode, and it would prompt developers to put more effort into it. That's what I was
I
thinking.
I
But I
think
think they
that
kind of
yeah, yeah. Go on, go on.
well, yeah, but I think for everyone's, just for like the greater good, I think it was pretty very smart of them to include games like Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat 11, them fighting herds and whatnot that actually have good networks.
Yeah.
So
I think that was the
There,
initial reaction that a lot of us had when we saw that Evo was going to be online. Like, oh, this is going to be hilarious because all of these games with, not great netcode are going to be displayed for everyone to watch, and we can all watch grand finals with Punk being in West Coast and then like Brian Epp being in
yeah,
East Coast in Chicago, and it'd be like, oh, this is going to be hilarious. But if you think about it though, that would actually hurt the brand and just fighting games in general more than anything.
yeah,
But now that we're playing these rollback games, which I'm not sure if it's going to be worldwide or anything like that, but better netcode, better experience. Just overall, everyone's a lot more happy with the whole situation now.
yeah. That's actually pretty interesting since we're including a lot of these games with a rollback netcode. If they're gonna allow actual country to country matches for these quote unquote open tournaments. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if it does happen, let's think of it this way: if it happens with a game like Killer Instinct and the tournament, the quality of the matches run well, it can in a way prompt developers for the main game to say, hey, this is actually a good investment. So why not? Why not do it? That's
I
what
think
I.
it's funny that you mentioned investment because in my head I was thinking like if I were to pitch this, I would almost pitch as part of the investment because of how big Evo is in terms of participants that it's
Yeah,
a live A/B test for netcode, whether it's rollback versus delay based across regions, because everybody's using a different uh, code base for their
yeah,
netcode, right?
yeah,
So now you sort of have this comparison in this version of Evo, and that's a great business. I think for me now that I have an actual pitch, right? If I were to go and get some games to like buy in, this would be my pitch.
yeah.
Here's your live A/B test, and all these results are consolidated for everybody to do some information sharing, to be able to create better netcode overall for all these different fighting games that will be coming out here and in the future.
Right. And also, the way I think why I just want to say the one thing about having a good netcode. Some people have stated via social media like, hey, uh, casual players aren't really gonna care about a good netcode, but I don't. I think that's the wrong way to think of it. I think having a good netcode will allow for more exposure of a game because you think of it this way. Let's say in an alternate universe, Crackfiend is a top personality and he's a really good player. He's not washed up and he has a big following. And you really know him for a game like, let's say, Street Fighter Five, right? And we all know that Street Fighter Five is really questionable in terms of connection. Now, let's say um, he doesn't want to stream Street Fighter Five mainly because the netcode is bad. Why do I want to put myself through this misery, right? So, and mainly because of the bad netcode. Well, if you have a good netcode, you're more than likely to have your favorite streamer, your favorite personality, you know, give exposure to that game because they want to play all the time. So from a casual standpoint, I think that's one of the reasons why you should have a good netcode because it's free exposure for you. More players playing the game, more people streaming the game, and
yeah,
not shitting on it.
Yeah.
I agree, and I'd also add to that that it adds longevity, however you would want to say
100%.
it,
100%
to a game.
longevity.
Uh, because there are games that I played that have died like on arrival as soon as they got to home console, especially when
Mhm.
you couldn't play with some of your friends. For example, say KOF 13. You can play KOF 13 in person, and it's
Yeah,
great. But I would have to say that for me, KOF 13's online experience is the worst fighting game experience I've ever had, ever. Like, and I played a lot of fighting games online, and I just have to say that was the worst experience I've ever had. And I love that game. I really do. But I had to drop away from that game because every time I would turn it on, it would be frustrating. And this is someone that wants to compete in the game. someone that's casual with the game would be even more frustrated because the game is incredibly difficult. Like
Yeah.
if you can't play against people, you're not going to develop. And if you take that to any game like Tekken, Street Fighter, Soul Calibur, you take it to Marvel. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I think that games can survive for a really long time as long as people can play them.
Mhm.
And the fact that you don't have developers don't develop a holistic view of a game beyond just playing it in person is naive. I honestly think that. And I think I really would have enjoyed what you were talking about, Kevin, having that be exposed. But I also think that they wouldn't work with Evo afterwards from
Yeah,
being
they wouldn't.
embarrassed
Yeah.
like that because it would show that they never really cared
Hmm.
Yeah.
about building a holistic experience for their users.
That's a good
Yeah.
point,
And
actually.
yeah, just kind of backpedal a bit. I only made that statement mainly because I want the developers to, put more effort into the netcode. Not so much so they can be embarrassed, because I'm sure that both like these companies and Evo, they don't want to get into that sort of relationship where, oh, you made us look bad, so we're not going to work with you. No one's going to win. So
Well,
Yeah.
I always wonder one particular thing, right? Because when you're creating a code base, that takes time, takes effort. I wonder if this is a financial decision based off of the cost and effort to make a proper rollback netcode
Oh,
for fighting
certainly.
games, right? Because if delay base is cheaper, and in their opinion, if they're looking at their financial forecasts, how much does net play impact sales, right? And I'm just opening this up. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I just makes it
uh,
just makes you wonder if this has caused a pivot within the teams, and all of a sudden, right? It's not the developers who aren't the ones putting in the effort. It's the business decision that's happening at the top that's making the call for developers. Because
yeah,
I tend to see developers care the shit out of the product, and I don't think developers are that stupid to know that delay base versus rollback, which one is the superior code base here, right? But there's a decision that's happening from somewhere to make that happen, and it could be a cost issue, and that's happening.
yeah.
And if that was the case, it's happening at the top.
I definitely do think that's a very very top end decision rather than the developers that are involved with the game themselves. That's
Yeah,
that's what I feel.
I'm just trying to trickle this, and like, cause I feel bad for developers. I really do, right? Whenever I hear stories about other developers or have spoken to a developer, like they're just like getting shitted on, and then like but then like people tend to forget that not all decisions, especially a business decision, is made by
Yeah,
developers.
yeah, yes,
That's why I
100%.
want to pivot that. It's like you can try to like pivot at the developers, but I think we need to pivot at these business decision makers that are happening within these organizations. I think those are the guys that need to see that these numbers make sense, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
You know
I
what's funny
agree.
is one thing about like the three games that are in the main line that have open tournaments now is Skullgirls, Them Fighting Herds, and then KI Mortal Kombat. But two of those games, I should say, is the indie games, no, just developers. So and those have
Inviting
rollback.
groups, yeah.
So it's pretty interesting thinking like financial things like okay, but these developers they really care about the game and they want to succeed and they understand that netcode is very important. So and like there's another game I can mention like Punch Planet as well. They use GGPO
Mhm.
and these indie games they care about the game. And it's interesting
Right.
that you bring up the higher ups.
I'd also like to take it back to the developers because I agree with what Anthony's saying. Crackfiend is entirely right that developers might not have the final say when it comes to what goes into the game and how much it would cost in order to put those things in there. But netcode's not something you just slap on, right? You build your game around those things. Like you can't just build an entire game and decide how you go about sending packets through the internet and information. That's something that you develop when you start making the game. And what I'm thinking is that when these people decided to make the game, I honestly feel like a lot of Japanese developers weren't even considering netcode has a problem. Like, it's not a business practice. And I know that there are a couple of personalities out there on the internet, say for example Maximilian, who's gone into great length about that, in that Japanese developers really don't take value in rollback because it's not really a Japanese product.
Hmm.
Maybe that's an assumption,
Not invented
but
here.
Well, okay, I know what you're talking about, James.
Mhm.
I remember Max did mention that, but I don't know if I should say. Well, I'll just say it. One thing about from what I've seen, not what I've experienced, but from what what I've heard, just conversations. So a lot of Asian developers in general, uh, they like to have their own thing
Yep.
and then try to kind of sell it off as their own. Because if they use something that's kind of like quote unquote foreign to them, it's not going to benefit them, right? Because they had to consult that, they had to pay for that, and it will be much more beneficial for them to create their own like in-house, sort of engine, and then say, "Oh, we created this. This is our success. Let's sell it off or something like that." So,
Right.
and I
Can,
think,
can,
go ahead.
yeah, I just want to step in really quick. Isn't GGPO open source?
The
GGPO, like the code base for it, isn't that open source?
I'm not 100% sure. All I know is that I think the Cannon brothers, they said that, hey, anyone can use this.
It's open source then. It's public
Yeah.
IP now.
Yeah.
If it's a public IP, then everything out there belongs to everybody, including any corporates that want to take that code. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the way, like, let's say, in big data, there's Hadoop, which is RIP Hadoop, but they were an open source big data software that was available for anybody to use, whether it's small companies, mid-sized companies, or enterprise level, and almost everybody used it. So when you're open source, that money, that information is available to the public. Just certain people are experts in that category than others, right? The cost isn't high, if at all, right? There's maybe some investment into having the code base built for your game, but outside of that, like, that's why I say, like, the cost at that point, cost isn't the thing. If GGPO is open source, cost is no longer the issue for consultations, because information is out there. They don't have to
Yeah.
buy the product.
So
Yeah.
it goes back to what Kevin was saying, is that they would prefer to build something themselves. I mean, I'd imagine there's some sort of stipulation where if you use GGPO, you have to put them in the credits for your game, and it might be a possibility they just don't want to do that.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that would come down to just pride, not a cost at that point, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to point out, like, some of the logical fallacies that are potentially there right now, right? Because I just find it very personally, I find it super bizarre that some corps are still choosing the delay based route when rollback is available and it's an open source, if I recall correctly.
Well, it's another thing because, like, say it is open source and everyone can use it, but it's also you have to find a developer that can incorporate that netcode into your game as well. And there's
Well, if they have a developer, they
not
can
really
hire
anyone
them
there.
to learn the whole goddamn system for the next 3 months if
Yeah.
they wanted to. They have the money and the resources to make it happen.
Mhm.
If they can pay the developer to deploy delay-based netcode, they can employ that developer to learn that code.
You would hope so, yeah.
At least you
You
would
hope
hope so. Yeah, no, it's possible. It's absolutely possible. The decision not to do that, though, different story. Either a lack of information, either pride. I think it's other things, but I don't think cost is the issue. So I pretty much almost want to eliminate cost as the topic for this, because I think that's a cop out.
Oh, I just checked GGPO. It says GGPO is available under the MIT license. This means GGPO is free for commercial and non-commercial use. Attribution is not required, but appreciated. So you don't even have to tell people that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I honestly can't think of a reason why you would not want to use.
It's also
this.
sort of
Yeah.
pride.
Oh,
It's sort of the reason why when I talk to some of these guys, when they say some of this shit, right? Like, I call bullshit because it's an open source. I'm like, you say it's a cost, and I say, well, a cost of what? That's the follow-up question, because it's an open source. So if you're saying the tool itself is the cost, you're a fucking liar. You're
I think
covering
it's a pride
something
thing.
else.
I really
I think it's a pride thing. I don't think it's the tool. The tool itself is good.
Yeah.
So that's why I call bullshit on some of these organizations, if it's too bold to say.
Yeah, but Kevin, what were you trying to say?
No, yeah, I really do think it's a pride thing. From what I researched and just having conversations, a lot of the Asian business culture. I'm not saying the Asian culture, but the Asian business culture is very prideful about, um, about that sort of thing. Like how I mentioned, it's like we created this. This is our success, so now we can profit off it. We want you guys
Right.
to use it now. We want the Americans to use it, and not the other way around. So
Yeah. I mean, that was a big
that's
reason why the Street Fighter 5 engine was called like the Kagibushi something something or the other, and not like the Street Fighter 5 netcode or something like that. They wanted to
yeah,
outsource it to other people, but obviously it was a failure.
yeah.
Yeah,
But,
pretty much.
But anyways, enough talking about the whole rollback and netcode thing. It's an important topic, but I think we kind of beat it a little bit.
Yeah, we definitely
And
beat the shit out of it.
yeah, I mean we've been talking about it for the last who knows how long now, a couple years at least. But yeah, let's talk about Kevin though. So
Hey, what's up?
Kevin, I couldn't help but find your YouTube channel, and I noticed that you had a lot of videos that had to do with the Marvel launch party, and you also had like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you did, yeah, yeah, and we saw Hans breakdancing and whatnot. Lord Hans,
Oh my
Lord
God.
Hans.
Oh man.
Once upon a
Lord,
time.
Still have it? I still have it.
It's still there, dude. It's still there.
Oh, it's still
Don't make
there?
Lord Hans pissed. He finds that video, he's gonna ban it. Just kidding.
Yeah, that's on. Well, he hasn't. It's been out there for like I don't know, almost 10 years now.
hmm
And he would have said something, but I do remember that.
You even have a video
Remember-
of a Crackfiend playing
Yeah,
against
he was
some
fighting.
lowly scrub,
Yeah.
just beating him up. I'm sure Crackfiend
Was that
was
laughing?
very-
Was that laughing at him?
I think this
loud.
was before you. Well, I don't know. Maybe, probably. Who knows?
It-
I couldn't hear you laughing though.
I didn't know Anthony around personally when I shot this video. I just kind of recognized the face and people saying, "Oh, look, it's Crackfiend." I'm like, "Oh shit, it's Crackfiend. Let me film whoever that is."
Yeah, that nobody.
I'm still a nobody. In fact, like I've been a nobody. I will stay a nobody.
Too
But,
bad, co-owner of Ronin Rumble.
So, yeah,
But yeah, I
I
was
am.
wondering like, what made this event so memorable for you that made you want to capture these memories and upload them on YouTube? Actually,
um, I'm wow. This was what, like almost 10 years ago, right before
it was a while
Marvel.
ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Well, obviously, I'm a big Marvel fan, and before this event, I had just graduated from high school, roughly, and I had a lot of free time, and I thought, I said, hey, I want to go out to an event like this because I've never done this before. There's gonna be a lot of FGC people that I see YouTube videos of. There's gonna be
Mm.
Crackfiend there, and I kind of went there just going, I just wanted to experience the event. But what I ended up finding out is that a lot of NorCal FGC was there, and little by little, I got introduced to people like Haunts for the first time. And before Anthony, I actually took a picture with Lamer Boy. Uh,
God
I-
fucking
I-
damn it.
I approached Lamer Boy. I was like, "Hey, are you Lamer Boy?" And Andrew, he's like, "Yeah, I'm Lamer Boy." He's like, "Hey," I asked him right away, "Hey, why did you flash kick at Evo?" And he looked really sad. And
Wait, was this
Oh,
at
man.
the San Francisco launch party for Marvel?
yeah,
I remember
so
that.
funny.
Oh my God, that's a long
Yeah.
time ago.
That was a long time ago. And technically, he was the there I met. So, and that's how I kind of started off a little bit knowing the Wind Brother. I didn't know Crackfiend was his brother, and let alone I didn't know he was the older brother. So when I found out about that later, I was a bit surprised. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah, he doesn't act like it, does he?
no, he doesn't. He definitely doesn't act like it." But I think I can understand because my older brother is like that. Also, he's my older brother is very similar to Anthony, so I definitely it makes sense. It definitely makes sense.
I like how you're trying not to insult Anthony or your older brother at the same time by saying that your older brother is as immature as Anthony.
Bring it. Bring
Anthony,
it. Feed my ego.
but yeah, oh yeah, I just went to this event with the camera like after like my first week of college or so, and I was like, hey, I'm just gonna go here with some my camera, film some people, and from afar, I started to kind of introduce myself to these people, and I think the first time I actually met Anthony was at it was when Super Street Fighter 4 came out, and it was at Super NCR at the
Mm-hmm.
is that
Mhm.
what it's called, at the Emporium, and this
Mm-hmm.
is the event where he had that match with Marn. With they played the Dudley Mirror, and they just kept doing stupid
Oh,
shit over and over.
oh,
They just kept
That's the
that.
walking
story.
up to each other and DPing, and I
That's the
remember
story.
I remember like everyone was hella rowdy, and I was getting caught up in it. I remember I walked up to Anthony afterwards, just say hey, I was like, "Hey, good shit." And obviously he didn't know me. He was like kind of looking around at everyone. He grabbed me and he shook me and he was like, "Yeah, that was fucking good." That's right.
He shook you?
Yeah, he shook me. But he was either too drunk or like too hyped, and we didn't really make eye contact. But that was my first quote
Didn't
unquote
even make eye
official.
contact.
The first, it was definitely the former.
Yeah.
I was way too fucking drunk, dude. I had the Four Locos before they were nerfed. I had
Oh
two of them,
God.
and then I had a
Oh
couple of
God.
beers, and I had a shot.
I totally forgot about Four Locos, man. I thought
The
that thing.
the pre-nerfed shit, the pre-nerfed Four
Oh,
Locos that
Primo
fuck you up.
Four Loco. Oh my god. Yeah, that makes sense now. That definitely makes sense. But yeah, that's how I unofficially met Anthony. No,
I couldn't even see
before
straight that day when I was playing that match. I couldn't see straight at all.
that was the event. That was my first like offline event that I went to. I was like, oh, this environment, it's definitely for me, because the months after that, I started going out to local tournaments mainly for Marvel 3 and a little bit of Street Fighter 4. And this kind of ties into how I got into tournament organizing. Because back then, around the Street Fighter 4, Marvel 3 days, it was the Wild West, because like everybody and anybody was throwing a tournament,
Yeah.
and it was by word of mouth. It's, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Just come out. So everyone in NorCal would just go out to whatever tournament there was, right?
Yeah.
And I remember going to a very particular tournament. I won't say where, and had a very particular organizer, Kaneda, as the organizer, and it was kind of a I'm it was kind of a shit show, and like everyone there was no it was very chaotic, as everything as the FGC was back then.
Play
And
and
I
trade.
remember, yeah, I won't say
TNT.
I won't say it wasn't one of those yet. It was just one of the more just like let's just throw a tournament. But I remember
Okay.
going up to him afterwards and saying, "Hey, this tournament was pretty shitty, and like this took longer than it took." And Kaneda, he didn't really know me at the time. He was like, "Oh yeah, why don't you come up to my next event and you organize it?"
Oh wow.
And I was like, "Sure, I'll do it." And like a couple weeks passed by, he threw another event. Um, I ran it, and we ended on time, quote unquote, and on time and FGC time zone is
30
like
minutes late, an hour late ish.
12 a.m., 1 a.m. That's considered early for
Okay.
FGC time.
12 a.m., 1 a.m.
And,
Sounds
yeah,
right.
and then but for the most part, it ran smoothly, and that was the thing. That was the most important thing. And I approached him afterwards. It's like, hey, so what do you think? And Kaneda was like, he just kind of laughed a bit, and he kind of shrugged it off. He's like, sure, come do my next TO event. And that's how I kind of started. Kaneda was the one that gave me the opportunity to start TOing in general. And then a year later is when Anthony approached me at Milpita's Golf Land, I think. It was for
I
it,
approached you?
I don't know if he poached me or not. I just know I was running the Marvel 3 tournament, and I was on the megaphone, and at the end of the event, Anthony approached me. He was like, "Hey, you look pretty organized, and you look like you know what you're doing. Do you want to do NCR?"
Oh, I
And
did.
yeah,
Now I remember.
and I was like, "Yeah, sure." And from there, everything just started rolling. I met John Choi. I met everybody from that point onwards. Mainly because,
All because
uh,
Anthony asked you to do NCR.
well, not just that, but
Definitely
because
just
of
that.
Because of Kaneda,
Of
he kind
course.
of challenged me a bit, and I just kind of took him on, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. But yeah, that's how I started with TOing in general, in NorCal at least.
So you ran the entire event then?
I didn't run the entire. I know I definitely ran like Street Fighter 4, Marvel 3. I know there was like uh I don't know if KOF was around at the time, but there were other games though. There were definitely, it
Hmm.
was a big event, big NorCal event.
But you
But yeah,
ran the
that's how
games that had like probably the most entrants though.
yeah, most likely.
Yeah. Like Marvel was there's like
Marvel was popping
60,
for a
70
minute.
people some days.
Marvel was
Marvel
popping for a hot minute.
Was definitely the hot spot back then, at least when it released.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
The king was definitely Street Fighter 4. There's no doubt about that.
Mm.
I mean, you can't mess with it, but I mean, if you still have like a 64-man bracket on a weekly, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, I didn't know what was considered a big tournament. I just saw a lot of people, and I was like, "Hey, let's just get this done."
That's why I took you in.
Yeah.
You have like really good. You're just focused, right? Like you don't really give a shit about all the other things that come along, right? You have a goal, you have a vision, you approach it. When I was recruiting for NCR, that's all I was really looking for, right? I'm not looking for some joker to go in there and be like, oh, I get to hang out with X, Y, and Z. Like I need people to get the job done. So it was an
Yeah,
easy choice for me when I saw you.
yeah, I definitely with like organizing, tournament organizing. I know a lot of people, they get stressed out,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's very chaotic. Okay. Let me say it this way: tournament organizing is easy, but there's a lot of factors that can stress people. So it's not really as easy as it seems because a lot of things can and will go wrong.
Well,
Yeah,
you
things
all you
will.
yeah, like, all you're really doing at that point is you're mitigating issues. You're no longer really resolving.
Yeah, and if you think about it, in a tournament setting, you're essentially the front line. If things don't go well on your end, it's gonna affect everything else. It's gonna affect the stream.
Yep.
It's gonna affect potential like exhibitions or whatever they
Yep.
have planned, raffles. So
Yep.
if you're not doing your job, if you're dicking around, uh, someone's gonna come down. Someone's gonna approach you and say, "Hey, what's going on here?" And, yeah. So I just want to do a good job at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you got to know so many people there, though, right? Like you said, John Choi. You got to know Hansai, I assume, and
Yeah,
obviously
definitely.
you knew
Oh, and you hot
Anthony.
well.
Uh,
All those all the I Play Winner guys. Then you obviously ended up because you're part of 10-0 now, right? So
yeah.
you got to know Hanzo Gonzo,
Oh yeah.
and
We used to play Marvel a lot back in the day.
He was arguably
It's
one
pretty
of
good.
the he's Mr. 33rd place. He's hella good, but for some reason he would never get past 33rd place. And this is not a knock on him. Hanzo would beat beat me a lot of the times. So like he's a really good player. Despite what people think of him online, whatever game he touches, he's pretty decent at it.
yeah,
But
most
now
people just see him as like the lizard and the troll.
yeah, yeah, that's the troll. But
He still is a troll.
he still is a troll, but
That's just
he
one side of him.
that's just one side. He is very, very, very smart. Let's just put it that way. He's very,
Mm.
very diligent, and ironically, he became somewhat of my boss technically in Tenno, in a way, which is kind of weird to say because I never thought when I first saw this guy streaming, hey, this guy's gonna be my boss at some point.
Yeah, it must have
I'm
been
glad I never
an
had to say that.
interesting thought having him as your boss. Oh man.
But I feel like what people are like in their personal life and how people are when, it's showtime. They can be different.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're the same in the sense that all those skills that they display in their personal life are just magnified when the pressure's on.
Uh, y- yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people don't get when it comes to behind the scenes that you see is that, if you're gonna get involved with this stuff, it's not yeah, it is sort of a social event, but it really is work, because if you don't do what you're supposed to do right, not necessarily well, but just doing it right and doing it, you're gonna mess up a lot of things, and you have to have that on and off switch of, hey, it's time to do it's
It's
time to
go
do some
time
work.
and it's time to play. It's
Yeah,
always the switches.
Hmm.
and a lot of that processes for me, at least when it comes to like organizing or whatever I do behind the scenes, came from me doing a lot of sports in school, and that's where a lot of my mindset came from. Where, hey, when it's time to play, it's time to play. So that's really my mindset.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So when you were doing like social media for like NCR and whatnot, when did you start doing that exactly? And how did that come to be your go-to thing?
Uh, I NCR specifically or social
Just
media in general?
social media in general, even Evo, every event that you've covered, just I'm just curious on how you started that and how you got to be the person behind the Twitter accounts. Or yeah.
If I am the person behind the Twitter accounts, wink, wink, no judge.
Not Kevin
But
Mercado.
yeah, not me. But I don't know. I That's a really good question. But I think how it kind of came about is that, obviously you guys know that I was part of the I Play Winter Cruise, so I was really close. I wouldn't say close, but I was pretty good friends with like Chris Seglia.
Hmm.
And whenever I used to TO event or commentate event, he would always be there. And I would always, I would always be there. I would always show up. And then when he started doing 10-0 stuff, he kind of asked me to help with organizing, and so I just kept on doing that. And then one thing led to another. I just ended up doing social media slowly but surely.
Did you
And
like did you sign yourself up for it or did they ask you to
I
do
didn't
it?
I didn't sign up. I didn't really sign up for it. No, I don't ever recall saying I want to do social media, because before, I don't know, before 2015, I didn't really know what the idea of social media was. But I knew how it worked, but I just didn't know. I just didn't know. Yeah. So,
So you just kind of just went in headfirst and learned your learned the ways of social media then. That's interesting.
well, okay. So one thing I should note is that when I did kind of realize and understand that I was doing social media was when, after I graduated college, like a couple of years ago. I graduated in marketing, and from, well, I'll just say this now, for about 4 or 5 years, I was a bit of a college dropout. I'll just openly say that.
That's
But
fine.
during that time, I did a lot of research. I did a lot of like paying attention to the FGC audience, and so I kind of started to realize that, hey, this is how this group works, and this is how you kind of communicate with them. And when I went back to school, I wanted to go back to school for marketing, mainly because I wanted to confirm my suspicions in that, okay, I have this audience, this FGC group that I think I kind of understand. I want to communicate with them better. I want to go back to school. I want to confirm that if what I do is what is right. And I went back to school. I graduated, and lo and behold, I think what I was doing was right. And so that's how I kind of pushed myself more towards social media, because I I do have a good idea of how to social media and market a bit. I hold back some stuff for my own, just until the time is right. But for the most part, that's how I kind of came about social media.
Okay.
It was kind of
All
a
research
mistake.
then. Hard work and
Yeah.
research.
No, I wouldn't say hard work. It was curiosity.
I mean, you put a lot of time into it though, right? So.
Yeah, you're
uh,
talking about years.
uh, yeah, but it, yeah, I guess yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're too humble, dude. I mean,
So
once you put
what?
like a lot of time into it, yeah. Alright, will you go ahead, James?
I was just gonna ask. So, what do you enjoy the most about engaging with people on social media, if you do so at all? Like, what are things that you enjoy about community engagement?
Uh, this is not strictly HGC stuff because I do work with some other people that I can't name, but it's just knowing after you do your research of the target audience, like whoever you're working for, you do that research and you start to create a plan, and you start sending out the message, that you start creating the posts and whatnot. I think the best part is seeing how people react to it, because it kind of, I don't want to say it validates, but if there's a positive reaction to whatever you post, a lot of engagement, that kind of shows that, at least for me, that tells me that I did the work that I kind of put in for that particular target audience. So, and yeah, everyone's happy because the company that I'm working under is happy, the audience is happy, I'm happy. So it's putting in the work and seeing it pay off, even though that's a really cliche answer.
Uh, I think that that makes sense, and I can agree with you there. To feel like best laid plans work out in the way that you want to, it builds your own confidence.
Not only that, one of the things I need to say this right now because I know there are a lot of people who do social media and they're doing it for the first time and they're thinking, hey, this is very easy. And yeah, social media is in a way very easy, but also it's the most volatile because uh, you're you're the first line of exposure. You're the first impression to a potential new audience member. So if you fuck up, you really fuck up, and you cannot fuck up on social media. You have to be very careful with what you say, good wording. You got to be mindful of what's going on, because if you say something wrong, then the backlash is going to happen,
Mm.
right? And then how is that going to reflect on the company? Because now you have thousands of people, hundreds of people saying, "Hey, why did you say this?" Right? And then it looks bad on them, and then they're not going to ask you to come back and do social media for them. So yeah, social media is very easy to get into. Just like Marvel, it's very easy to get into, but if you mess up, you're gonna die. So you gotta do your research. You have to know what's going on with current events, what's gonna pop off with the audience, what's gonna connect with them, and what's not gonna connect with them.
Okay, I don't want to get too nerdy here, but I'm too curious. I'm going to ask it. So outside of having some common sense in terms of like what kind of vocabulary you choose to use for your social media posts and responses with people, are you
Mhm.
leveraging metrics to gauge the type of content you're doing to see what works and what doesn't, or what sticks and what doesn't stick? And if you are using metrics, what are they?
Uh, I know you and I had this conversation before, Anthony. I don't have like a tool for I don't have a metric system of some sort for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I really did just use a lot of like testing the waters with actual like thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll post one thing and then I'll post a similar thing, a couple of hours later, and but the way that they're framed is a little bit different.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I get to compare. I get to compare like, oh, okay, this approach is a lot better. They like to see this or hear this a lot more, and then I'll use that all while trying to stay,
Within the brand
playing with,
voice.
yeah, within the brand voice, yeah. But it's just very very subtle stuff, because Um, yeah, one literally like a phrase, a single word can really make a difference between a very engaging post versus a very, like a very normal one, in my opinion, at
Hmm.
least.
Mm.
If anything, I would recommend, just because you're a personal friend and I want to see your growth, definitely start looking at your engagement metrics. If you go to Twitter or analytics.twitter.com, there's a basic dashboard that's on there with engagement percentages included. That would help you to see how, what brings people to click on whatever it is within that post, right? Whether it's a call
Yeah.
to action, or they go into your Twitter page, or they follow, etc.
Mhm.
I think it'd be very beneficial for you if you aren't using that already.
Oh, this. I Yeah, I do have this. I do have Twitter analytics open, but I should use it more.
Yeah,
Like you're saying, yeah, I
yeah.
get it.
It's just because engagement is a big number, right? Like, what is engagement? First of all, engagement is the interaction of somebody
Mhm.
somewhere, right? And
And I'd
that
also
click.
have to ask, or I'd have to say that there are different levels and depths to engagement as
Yes,
well.
yes,
And just measuring that and seeing how that can affect how people come back and engage with you further, that that's really important to keep track of too. It's just something that I'm trying to do a lot more. I definitely agree with Kevin that it can get
it's
it's a
tricky.
lot easier. Yeah, it's a lot easier to just kind of take things and work from anecdotal evidence rather than actually taking hard data. But as we advance more into social media and it becomes more prevalent as well as more lucrative, I think it is important to look at the data and see what best practices
Yeah.
there are.
And the data isn't the fact, right? The data is just more to help support your theory, right? Like, what does it actually support, right? Like, as a former analyst, like I always tell everybody, like, don't use the data as a fact. The data is a pivot to help you go in the right direction. It's
Mm.
more of a rumor than a fact, right? Like, facts can
Mhm.
be misleading, but rumors, true or false, can be revealing.
Right. It's a tool.
It's a
So,
tool, but you have to ultimately make the quote unquote right decision in the
Yeah,
end.
mhm.
exactly.
And the thing, I say that, you know, uh, I'm not exactly a social media like specialist per se. I like to say that I personally think I feel I know how the FGC audience works in comparison to
Yeah.
most others. Yeah,
Hmm.
because one of the things that I kind of prided myself on is the fact that I wasn't just, believe it or not, I wasn't just a Marvel guy. Um, but I'm really huge. I think my best games are probably like 3D games like Tekken or Soul
Oh,
Calibur.
Sure.
interesting.
And then from there, I got into Street Fighter. From there, I got into the anime scene. And so a lot of that, me getting involved with other scenes, I get to see how they interact, what their feelings are on certain topics in the FGC at the very least. Because the FGC is such a big umbrella. It's not like, oh, you have League of Legends and that's it. FGC is like, it's anime, it's 3D games. You have the 2D people, you have the Smash players. It's a lot of subset off groups of, different audiences, and what answer you have for one group is not necessarily an answer for another. And so you have to be very mindful of that. And so I was pretty lucky that I got to make friends with a lot of people from different scenes.
So you're saying that your best games were 3D games. Then what made
Mhm.
Marvel so like interesting to you, and why did you like put so much time into getting to know the members of the scene, getting to know all the figureheads there, just and because you did commentary for it as well, so
Yeah,
you definitely know
You knew
like
yeah,
your
how
shit.
the
You definitely
game.
knew your shit.
Yeah. So
yeah.
like
I
yeah.
Ooh, I did it again. The Marvel. Well, back in 2010 or 2009, 2010, I got into a NorCal group called Freedomonia. I think James remembers this group. You remember
Yeah,
Freedomonia?
I remember
of course I do.
Freedomonia.
Yep.
Yeah, we used to be at San Francisco State, and every Saturday we used to have like, 50, 40 people there, and we just
Wow.
play whatever at the time. And then
This is a big
we used to
group.
try. Yeah, it was a really big group. And then when Marvel 3 was coming out, there was like a small group of us that got pretty good, and then we just started to travel out a lot more to these events. And me, um, I believe it or not, Daigo. I don't think. Well, the Daigo Perry number 37 Evo moment was, a lot of people's first exposure. My first exposure was those Evo West, Evo East matches of Marvel 2, and it was me like, clicking on these videos and seeing fucking Sentinel being driven around like a goddamn helicopter and just
Hell yeah.
just stomping on people. I was like, damn, the shit is hella hype because in a lot of those old videos, you get to hear the crowd and that
Mm.
shit. You kind of get caught up in that. It's like I want to be part of that. I came from that kind of environment where people are really rowdy and whatnot.
Yeah, 'cause you
And
did sports, right?
yeah, I did sports. I did football, track, basketball in high school. And when okay, so this kind of ties into how I got into Marvel. When high school ended, I stopped sports. I hurt myself, but I was still competitive. And then Marvel 3 was kind of coming out. And I didn't know if I was a tournament player or not, but I started to play a lot more. I started going out to tournaments. I started to meet the the quote unquote old Marvel heads of NorCal like Crizzle, um, Chunksta. I met,
Damn, everybody forgot I
CJ.
was a Marvel head.
Yeah, I mean, I know. No, no,
I was playing with those fools.
I
I
know.
was training with those fools.
I was about to say Crackfiend, but
Damn.
but I was about to credit you for once.
Nah, nah,
But
nah,
you,
nah. You
but you
good.
cut
You
me
good.
off.
You
Nah,
good. You
nah.
good,
Yeah,
man. You good. You know what? I caught you. I caught you.
but yeah, I just started going out to tournaments. I just started showing up, and then one thing led to another. I remember back when you guys remember Starbase.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's when I Play Winner was still around, and I remember meeting Hans there, and I used to go out to every tournament, and then I don't know what happened, but he was like, "Hey, get on the mic." I'm like, "Sure."
You just like get on the mic.
Yeah, he just told me just get on the mic. I'm gonna go next door, and yeah, I just and then I started commentating Marvel 3 from that point onwards.
So did you know the game very well at that time then?
Marvel, Marvel 3 or
Yeah. Whatever game you were commentating on.
uh no, but I did have a lot of very good theory crafting teachers
Okay.
in my group, and so I learned a lot from them. And believe it or not, I got a lot of my commentary knowledge and just little tidbits from watching Hanzo Gonzo streams, because that guy
Mm.
used to stream the game every day, and that guy knew so much because he was a masochist and would play Marvel 3 online, and he would pick up on little tidbits. So I stole a lot of stuff from him. So if anything, I credit a lot of my commentating knowledge to Hanzo. But then as the years kind of like moved on and I started doing it a lot more, I did my own research. I would literally go on YouTube, Facebook, or wherever, and I would search for players from other regions, and I would just just watch videos on them. And so
Oh.
whenever like a major tournament come up, I would commentate about them, and then a few months later, that same player would come back to me saying, "Hey, how did you know this about me? You're not supposed to know that." And I tell him, "Hey, I did some dig on you," and
Oh.
and yeah, I did a lot of I was very very curious, and and it wasn't so much I wanted to be knowledgeable. I was just curious about that person, and I just really liked the game.
Okay.
I just really wanted to see how other regions played like in comparison to the NorCal playstyle. So yeah.
From what you've said
Hmm.
and from the phrases that you kept repeating, I feel like your curiosity is one of your greatest assets.
Yeah. Uh yeah, definitely. Because I will say this. When I did I the one thing I do regret is that I stopped commentating in general, stopped commentating Marvel, because it was around that when I stopped commentating, I stopped being curious and I thought since Marvel was dying, I should stop because there's nothing else for me to commentate, and that's one of the regrets for me. So I kind of wish that I was still curious with commentating because I didn't know commentary was going to be like this, you know, Street Fighter Five era, 2016 and beyond. I did not know it was going to be like this at all. So it would have been fun, but I know there are a lot people that are a lot better than me, kind of doing it right now. But just from a personal standpoint,
Well, you have
I
to
would have liked it.
you have to enjoy the game as well, though, and
Yeah,
enjoy
Hmm.
watching it.
definitely.
I think that's very
Mhm.
important if you're trying to commentate it.
If you ask Anthony, he'd probably say no.
Oh, why? Go ahead. Go ahead,
Well,
Anthony.
yeah, Anthony, tell us about your Street Fighter 5 commentary.
Okay. Now that you put it that way.
God, dude. If they
What
ask me to
commentary?
do it, I'll do it.
I just
Street
know that
Fighter.
Wednesday Night Fights, he's always there. He'll do commentary if he has to, but
I have to.
yeah,
Only
but
if he has to.
he's often told me I don't even touch this game. And he's one of the first people to sign up for, or probably not sign up, but if you need a commentator, Crackfiend's there.
Yeah, that
Only
sounds
if you
about
need
right.
it. Only
Only
if you need it.
only if you need it. Yeah.
Honestly, like in all honesty, right? Like I try to give the time out to everybody else, anyways, right? I think it's important, Like I think there are
Yeah.
people who want to work on their craft, right? And one of the things I say all the time is like, my time to shine is past. My time to shine on camera, on stage, and all that. That's just past, man. I'm on to
Yeah.
other things now. So I'd rather not be on camera if it came down to it. I don't care. But if I needed it, I'll hop on.
You're the last resort, basically.
I'd rather be the last resort than the first choice.
Yeah. I agree. I'm not agreeing in that you should be the last resort, but more so, I think uh, I feel that if you yourself are invested and really like the game, you're more than likely to do a better job because you'll put in that much more effort to doing a better job because you really like what you do. In my case, you really like Marvel, so you go out and you do these weird stalkery things like like searching up videos on players and whatnot and seeing what they're like. So
Yeah, but then
you
you
get
also
that.
have a social life with the guys too, right? Like you actually
Yeah,
socialize with people, and what commentary is that you're socializing to an audience that doesn't exist. It's an
yeah,
audience that you'll never ever speak to. Most of those people you'll never even see in your life.
yeah,
So, so being able to carry your conversation and having that with them or having them involved in that conversation, it's a skill that requires, I hate to say it, but some social skills.
yeah.
Hmm.
Definitely, 100%.
Definitely.
It's not a formulaic thing. You really do have to develop, like Anthony said, really do have to develop a real relationship with these individuals, or at least the scene, so you
Hmm.
can, you know, because in a way, commentary is a narrative, it's a story, and you have to properly express that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'd also say that what you were doing when you were stalking your uh your prey there, I think that's actually what sports commentators do. Like they're given sheets worth of information to talk about these players, or they're very knowledgeable or have an intimate uh not that way, but have intimate knowledge of these particular people that they're talking about, so they can about them on
Hmm.
camera with such a familiar tone
Hmm.
that it makes it easy for you to get to know these people, that you can develop a narrative about these people without you actually knowing them. That's why people can go up to like Chris G and be like, oh, this Chris G, he's so cool, because there are people talking about him and what he's like and kind of his own personality, and you see his personality in his play,
Hmm.
and they feel like they know this person, which sets up a whole other societal problem altogether, which we could talk about in another show. But
Yep.
that's something that as a caster, as a commentator, it's a really good trait, and you just curious yourself into it. So once again, I would say that your curiosity is an amazing asset.
Yeah, I think it's always good to be curious because there's always something to improve on. I mean, the way I think of it is that if I know it's cliche when I say this, I don't want to be the best at what I do. I just want to be good enough to the point where, if I do reach a certain level, I won't feel bored because I hate being bored. I hate just kind of like not doing anything. I want to be able to look to something else and say, hey, I'm curious about this, and I think that's also very reflective in fighting games because nowadays, because the one thing I see a lot in social media is like, hey, what's the answer? What's the answer to playing this game, to being the best? And I think that's the wrong mindset, and more so that
It's
uh,
practice.
it's not just practice. It's being curious is like, hey, how can I adjust this? How can I did this good, but how can I make it better?
Well, there's like a level of due diligence in practice, right? So even though I said
Mm.
practice itself is a process, right? Like
Mhm.
when you think about the process of learning, it's a process of repetition and something. In fact, I think repetition is one of the most important things when it comes to being good at something because you reduce the risk of failure.
Yeah,
I also think that being the best is a fallacy. It's a never-ending goalpost. It's something that's continuously moving further and further away. Because
well, that
even, oh,
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just saying that for people who are seeking to be the best, you're right. It's not a great mindset because what is considered the best today is probably not going to be the best tomorrow. And to seek your own self improvement will see you further than where you had this misconceived notion of what the best looks like.
Yeah,
It's too
yeah,
linear.
but that's
Mm.
the thing. A lot of people don't really realize that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
The
mean, I mean,
people just they want to say, hey, give me the answer so I can be instantly so I can see the results or quote unquote be the best.
Yeah.
And people have
I mean, like if I go back to the practice to just really quick, right? Like, how many people do you know would go into the lab and would move one pixel back just to see which buttons hit at what distances, what it can do in those distances, how plus it could be in those distances, how negative it can be in those distances, then throwing fireballs every single pixel going back. There's only a handful of people I know in this world that actually do that, and they're all
yeah,
top players.
yeah.
When I'm playing seriously, I'm literally going back every single pixel, looking at what's plus, what's minus, every single one of it.
Well, you come from
People,
a background where you don't have the resources to just test those things. So you
yeah.
didn't
Uh,
have training mode.
Well, I can't. I had to train in the arcade.
can't imagine that. Oh man.
You sometimes you go into arcade and you hope there was nobody playing on the machine so you can train.
I think well, I think it's not how should I say this? I think what Anthony's saying is all true, but people also have to have that they have the
Mentality.
willingness. Yeah, they have to have the mentality to do that.
The
It's
will to
Not,
win.
well, I'll put it this way, right? Like this is why set play is so goddamn popular because set play is sort of this notion that when you do set play and you do set play really well, that is your the most likely road to success. But I think that's a bunch of bullshit, right? Like set play is just a part of it. Then you still have the mind games, you still have the footsies, right? So when people see set play and people use set play and it's like, oh, I'm beating the shit out of my friends with set play, then they play somebody with footsies and they get fucking mollywopped, right? Like they're like, what am I doing wrong? Well, you never played fight. You're not fighting. You're looking to get your playbook going, and that's about it. So outside of the playbook, you don't have anything else. And there's a mindset to I hate to say this, right? But then when you're playing to win versus playing to get better, there are
Mhm.
two very different mindsets. And the only way that you can get and play to win is to get better first. They are actually two parallel universes that coexist. But when you're playing to win, you sort of put what you're learning to the side, and now you're playing to strictly win. But you already put in the work and you already put in the practice to win. Now you're adding that mentality to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a competitor is, right? Like I don't believe in this like ticky tacky bullshit where people are like, well, I could do this and do that. Like if you're playing to win, you're playing to fucking win. So practice.
Yeah. It's all what it's all about in the end, right? Is winning. If you're losing, you're doing something wrong.
If you're playing to get better and you're playing for knowledge, that's fine too. That's totally fine. But don't ever like, in my opinion, I hate it when players mistake one thing for the other, and that they have to always coexist at all times.
Give me an example, a quick example of that.
Let's say you go in a tournament and then you're like playing a top player, and this is me as a subject here, right? Playing Daigo, and I was still getting back into the nick of things, right?
Uh-huh.
Mike told me to play to win. I played because I was like, I want to see what Daigo's capable of. I didn't play to win, even though I was outplaying the shit out of him on footsies. I was playing to learn him, to see what he was capable of, and that ended up me getting the Okies and then dying. Right? I didn't play to win, man. If I went in there and went for the kill, like I should have, but like Mike said and everybody else said, I would have fucking won that shit. Instead, I got to be like the meme on the video now, right? I got to hold that shit and see everybody talking shit whenever I lose to Daigo. Or like Andrew, for instance. He did the same thing. He did the same thing at Evo. Why did he flash kick? Because he was trying to learn. He wasn't trying to win.
Is that really the answer?
You can ask him yourself and you'll find out.
I'll ask him that the first time I see him.
No, that's literally a conversation I have with Eric Brass. Like every time I see him, every single time we see each other, we always ask, why did Andrew flash kick? And we just talk about an hour the reasons why did he flash kick.
Ask him, bring that up.
man.
Did you make the effort to actually win, or were you trying to like figure him out? And then so that way you were actually in the process of learning rather than actually just taking him out and killing him.
Yeah.
This is gonna be the
That's
10-year anniversary of that too.
Is it gonna be the 10-year? Oh,
I was saying this is to dump on Andrew, right? Like I'm not trying to dump on Andrew.
I know.
You know. But I think some players go in there with like not the effort to win, right? Like the mentality to win and the mentality to kill is a totally different mentality. That's more serene and more peaceful. It's two different ways of thinking, man. The emotional state is also different. So how you respond to adversity is also different.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also think that when you're playing to learn, you're willing to take chances. You're
Mhm.
willing to test a hypothesis. Whereas when you're playing to win, you're more set in uncertainties and taking data and going for that specific answer.
Well, here's my response to that is that I think it's very easy for people to say I'm really willing to learn and to get better, right? And so they have this game plan. They want to play against someone that's better than them, just to kind of test things out. But I think everyone always has a plan until they get fucking hit in the face.
In the face.
People always say, I'm gonna play Daigo. I have this game plan, and then Daigo kind of fucks up that game plan with a random, DP whatever. And I think the underlying thing is that people need to have a bit more tolerance, and that okay, I'm gonna go in to this match or to training mode to learn or whatnot. But what happens when things don't go wrong? And I think when people kind of feel that sort of negativity, that pressure, they get deterred, or they get scared of experimenting even further, because in their mind they're thinking that, oh, this is not going how it's supposed to go, so why am I putting this much effort in? And when my game plan is supposed to work, it's not working. So people have to have a lot more tolerance to when things go bad.
There's probably a Core 8 gaming video about this.
Probably.
Probably
I think-
is.
competitive mindset is such a very complex topic, you know.
Yeah, it is.
It's because like even based off what I say, like you have to have a mentality to win. That will differ per person and what that means. And if you're not able to bring out the best of their mental psychology to not only win but win in the way that they want to win, you end up just altering their fates, and that hinders them rather than supporting them. It's a very tricky endeavor. That's a different topic for like that's that's like a whole dissertation in itself.
Yeah,
Yep.
we've been talking about this for like 30 minutes. The thing with
It's interesting.
it's interesting thing of competition. It just depends from person to person. There's literally no right answer. Everyone kind of thrives in their own way. There are some people that won't go into training mode at all, and they'll still get like results because they're just good. They just have a good.
I disagree. I disagree. I think that those guys who don't go to training mode don't go to training mode anymore.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. And I think they don't go to training mode anymore because they have enough experience just playing in general that they have an idea. They have an idea of how to win, and I say that loosely.
Yeah. It's also like, you know, like when a game comes out and there's no such thing as a top player that doesn't go into training mode, they don't lab and everything. Like any new game that's released, they'll go into the lab, they'll test the things out, right? They'll test every single pixel, they'll test every single position, they'll test all these different things. Some players have tested it enough that they memorized all the situations, they memorized all the sequences, all the potential situations that can come out of this, hence why they don't enter training mode anymore. Because some of those situations are already curated enough to the point that they don't have to train. So, like Street Fighter V, with the way that it is, there's not really a lot of surprising sequences you have to find. Let's say, especially if you're playing as a Cammy in season 1, right, or season 2. So, when you think about it from that perspective, and the person I'm talking about here is Xiaohai. He doesn't hit training mode. Hell, he doesn't even fucking play the game.
He doesn't play the game.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Xiaohai.
Why is that possible? No. Because he's Xiaohai is a cop out. It's the fact that he has done the training, and he's put in enough knowledge, and he has all the history to play competitively, that he's able to accrue all this and speed up the learning process and win.
Yeah, he has a particular game plan, and he's developed this game plan throughout different games and throughout different interactions. And as long as he finds those particular tools for this character to implement said game plan, he's well on his way to being comfortable. And once he feels comfortable and competent, then he can start winning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's why I say it's not training anymore. There's a different type of layer of work that's put in to lay that foundation, right? He's learned how to learn enough so that he's optimized the learning to as little as possible and still succeed at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
pretty interesting. Yeah, fighting games, dude. It's a lot. It's a lot more than just beating each other up.
It's not easy, man.
It is definitely not easy. It's a very difficult subject to like really just expand upon, but probably got to move on now though. I kind of want to go back to Kevin's point of researching players. So one of the more premier players in NorCal was Vineeth, Apology Man.
Oh yeah.
So I would imagine that you've done some research on him, right?
It wasn't research. It was firsthand experience.
Firsthand experience. Okay, I see. Could you elaborate on that? Do you have anything interesting to say on Vineeth? Any good little stories for the viewers?
I mean, what kind of story do you want? I mean, do you want how I met him, or do you want just one of the? What do you want? I got it.
You got a lot of stories, huh? Okay. Let's see.
Well, okay, I'll tell you how I first met him. You guys remember Game Center Arcade in San Mateo in 3rd Avenue?
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Yeah, the old SRK TNT venue. Yeah.
The very first,
North,
like,
TNT
I think it was like
South.
the first 3 or 4. The first 3 or 4 TNTs were there.
So Vineet, he was an anime dude at the time. He played a lot of Blaze Blue. I knew him, or I didn't know him. I saw him a lot because he was this big ass kid amongst all these other kids that played Blaze Blue, and I just kind of knew him as the Hakumen player. And then I remember one Saturday night. Do you guys remember? You guys know Tasty Lumpia or Jade Ash?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes. So I was playing on a cab, Marvel on a cab with them, just in the corner, and we had both like Marvel heads and anime heads there, and we were just playing. We're one of the few Marvel people there, and then, literally in the middle of a match, uh, we hear this guy say, "Hey," and we kind of look behind us, and then all of a sudden, I feel like a hand, not a finger, but a hand grab my shoulder, and I turn around, it was beneath. And then I looked at him. We didn't know each other, and I was like, "Dude, we're playing." And he asked me, "Hey, could I get next?" And I'm like, "Whatever." And so I brushed him off, and Vineet, he gave us this his typical sad face. And then after Taste the Lumpia left, Vineet kind of approached me again. He was like, "Hey, that guy's gone. Can I play you?" And I'm like, "Sure." And then we start to sit down and play. And this was when he. Do you guys remember when he played Frank West, Super Scroll, and I think it was some other team, but he played Frank West and Super Scroll, and he had this stupid ass gimmick where he would get a hit with Super Scroll and he would level up Frank through that. And Taste of Olympia and I didn't know what was going on. We're getting beat up by Beneath, and at the time, Taste of Olympia and I were pretty good players, and we didn't know Beneath played. And we just played him for like an hour, and after about an hour, we realized that if we just X Factor his Super Scroll on point right away, Beneath would just kind of give up, and he would just stop. He would let go of his stick, and he would turn to us each time and ask, "Hey, why'd you guys do that for? Stop or something like,
What'd
or
you
stop
do
that,
that
right?
for?
Oh yeah, why would you guys do that? What? Stop that!" And then we're like, "Dude, this character's a problem." And Beneath was like, "But I like this character. He enables my game plan." And we're like, "Yeah, we don't want you to have fun." And Beneath had his pouty face, and kind of from there, uh, we kind of started hanging out with. I started seeing him a bit more, and then it wasn't until, oh no, I don't know if I should say this.
You don't have to.
I
Just man.
I will.
Is he
I
in the
will.
chat? Is he holding
No,
the
he's,
Oh,
hostage?
Beneath.
he's not. He's not in the
No.
chat. But I'll just say, like, after that first meeting, there are a lot of like tournaments in general that I would end up carpooling with him, and that's where I got to see how big of a kid he was. And every single like stupid or like crazy story you ever hear about him, it's it's more than likely true because he's a character. He's funny. um I'll share one story. One story that I think kind of sticks out to me is that SCR 2017, 2016, up to this point, for about like 5 years, everyone used to drive Beneath around, right? He was the
Mhm.
one that'd go asking people, "Hey, guys, can you guys give me a ride? Please, I really want to go. I want to play Marvel. I want to play Blaze Blue." We kind of reluctantly bring him along. But suddenly, out of nowhere, SCR 2016, he asked us, like a group of people, say, "Hey guys, I'll drive you guys to LA." And we're all kind of shocked. It's like, "What? Beneath driving us? What's going on here?" And we're like, "Sure. We'll we'll ride with you as long as you drive." And he's like, "Yeah, sure." One thing led to another, and it ended up only being me and Beneath going to NCR in his car. His car. That's a very,
In
very
his
key
car.
thing. In his car.
He has a car.
Yeah, he does have a car. So we're starting to drive down to LA to SCR. We're having a conversation and just talking FGC stuff. And literally, like, we're in the middle. We're in the I-5, and so there's no turning back at this point. You have to realize there's like, if we were to turn back, it will take another like 2-3 hours. We kind of stop in the middle of the road. I kid you not. He stops and he's like, "Okay, Kevin, I have something very important to ask you. A very big favor. Um, my final is next week, and I need you to help me write this paper." And I'm like, hold on a second, dude. We need to go to STR. It's like, no. We'll do that. I'll drive you there as long as you help me with my paper.
That's why he drove.
That's why. That's why he ended up driving me, because he wanted all of us to write his paper for him. And I'm like, no, dude. No, dude. Just let's just go to SR. I was like, no, dude. If I don't do this paper, I'm gonna fail. Like, dude, that's your own fault.
If I
Why are you
don't,
going
I'm
to
gonna
drive me?
fail. Oh my god.
So he literally, for the first time, he offered to drive us mainly so we could write his paper for him.
Wow.
Yeah,
Good old Beneath, dude.
Yeah, that's a very small
Oh,
Vinny story
man.
for you.
It makes me
it's a
very
very
happy
famous-
to say that I'm undefeated against Vineeth in tournaments for Marvel 3.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
And you did you enter like 1 or 2 tournaments?
I actually did quite a few. One of them was I can't remember what the first tournament was. I know I bodied him in that one tournament because he played at SJSU. He played at SJSU, and I would pass by like, "What are you guys doing playing at SJSU? Some Marvel 3? Let me join."
Oh man.
So I sit there, and then I body him with my shitty team. When he was playing Scroll, it wasn't. This was like maybe 2 or 3 months before he won at SCR or got like top 8 or some shit. Whatever it was.
This is before his breakout, quote unquote?
This is before his breakout, yeah.
Probably way before, yeah.
It was before his breakout, so I would play him, and then he would keep losing to me, and I just loved it, right? Because he was always so salty.
Yeah, he's very emotional.
Yeah, so that only feeds me more. You know, like the more emotion that you show to me, the more that I'm gonna feed off of that, and the more I'm gonna poke at that. So yeah, you know, it's funny. He's a good dude. He's a good dude, man. But sometimes he does some strange shit.
Yeah.
He does some hella strange shit, man. He is literally Twitter personified, because every crazy thing you see on Twitter from him, it's more than likely true. But the thing is, the one thing I can never knock about Vineeth is that he has a really high tolerance level when it comes to people like shitting on him or making fun of him, because
I also think he knows like who's actually shitting on him, and then the people who aren't shitting on him, right? Like people who are shitting on him, but it's like fun, and like I like to shit on him only because it's funny.
Yeah,
I don't hate the guy at all.
no, I don't think anyone hates Vineeth. He's just like he's a fun punching bag for a lot of us. But when it comes to actual tournament play, he actually does pretty well. He's
He's
a
really good.
pretty decent player. He does
He's really good.
You know, he tried to pick up Rashid when 5 came out, right?
No,
Yeah, he did pick up Rashid and he almost beat Fudo.
No, I said he tried to pick up Rashid.
Okay.
He tried.
So, funny thing, when he played Fudo, I was stream running at that time at that Evo, and I called up that match specifically because I knew Vineeth was pretty good, and I don't think any of the Japanese players kind of knew how good Rashid was. So I called up that match, and then with Fudo, he has the diet members of Japan behind him. He has every single top player behind him. There's just like me, Vineeth, and like a few workout people. And I remember in the middle of the match, one of the Japanese, the crowd in the back, they were kind of worried because Fudo was about to lose. And one of them, it was a Guilty Gear player. I think his name was it was Nage. It was Nage. He's a very famous Faust player, and he's a big fan of Venice. And I overhear him and like just pick it up on words. He comes over to the group of Japanese players. It's like, oh, points to Venice. Oh, Firebrandu, Marvel player. And they're all like, what? Who? What? and they started to find out that Vineeth was the infamous Firebrand player from Marvel 3, and they're all like, oh, so they all started to like talk to Fudo, and they basically says, oh, be careful, this guy is really really good, and from that point onwards, Vineeth kind of tilted and he lost.
Of course, of course.
So yeah, that's another interesting. He has some fans. He has some fans in Japan. So
Yeah, good old
yeah,
Beneath.
he's a good player. He's definitely. I can't believe I'm saying this. He's one of NorCal's star players nowadays.
He's definitely NorCal's treasure for sure. He's a
Yeah.
NorCal treasure because everyone knows who Beneath is in NorCal.
He's an interesting treasure piece.
He's an interesting.
yeah.
He's an interesting treasure piece.
But
What you guys are ragging on him for? I like Apology Man. He's great.
Yeah, he's good.
he's really hard to hate, honestly.
Yeah,
He's really
nobody
hard to
hates-
dislike.
Nobody hates.
Nobody
him.
hates him. Nobody hates him. He's just interesting.
Yeah.
Nobody
we all
hates
give him
him.
shit for it, but we love him.
Nobody hates him, but fuck Beneath. That's the the tagline. Fuck Beneath.
That's like the Twitter post right there. Nobody hates him, but fuck
Fuck
Beneath.
Beneath.
Okay, everyone right now. Hashtag fuck Beneath on Twitter.
Oh god. But yeah,
There,
on that note, on
I'll
shitting
retweet
on Beneath,
there.
I
posted.
would like to thank you very much for Kevin Mikado, the Thagagaguy, for joining us today. And I think we're just going to end it there, right? I think we hit the time, about an hour and 45. That's a good note. I think we got a lot through today. Talked a lot
Yeah,
about Evo,
I
talked
think
about
we-
social media.
I think we
What's that?
talked more about. I think we talked more about like competition, the idea of
Competitive
competition,
mindset.
the competitive mindset rather than the other topics. But that's good. That's
Hey,
fine. I'm
You
totally
know, it's
okay with that.
interesting though. That's something I always like talking about. It's I mean, if there's no competition in it, what's the point though, right?
Right. That's true.
At the end of the day, what we do in the FGC is we're creating either a platform to compete or we are competing itself. So it's a very interesting thing to sort of feed the fire for the people.
Right. Yeah. No, it's competition's important. If you're not competing to win, you may as well not play at all. But on that note, thank you so much again to Kevin Mikado, the Thagagaguy, for joining us today on Ronin Rambles. So Kevin, I have a question for you. If you
What's up?
have three options, if you can mash, tech, or take the throw, what are you gonna do?
It's a situation.
Any situation.
Just think of just say it intuitively.
Yeah. First thing.
I would take the throw.
All right. We gotta take the throw here, guys. You heard it here first. Kevin Mikado will always take the throw.
You're a smart man.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Oh yeah.
And it's good to see that y'all are all healthy. And I know it's a tough time right now, but not only be responsible, but take this time to develop your skills or develop a new skill. This is literally the best time right now.
Mm-hmm.
So go and
Definitely,
do
definitely. Yeah. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the 5v5 Ronin Rivals with Samurai Showdown on Jeff the Hero's channel. I don't know what's gonna happen there.
Oh god.
It'll be interesting to say the least. Also,
I gotta practice for like an hour tomorrow.
Please don't get us
hour.
swept.
we won't get
Please
swept.
don't
It'll
get
be
swept,
fine. It'll be
NorCal.
fine.
Oh
that. Wait,
god.
you're on the team? Anthony's on the team?
Anthony's
Yes.
on the team. Yeah.
Oh,
He is
shit.
NorCal's best player, right?
Was that was when
definitely-
I was winning like 13. That
Yeah.
was 13 WNFs. 13.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only
I'm
person
sorry,
he
that
loses
was all
to is
my
his
fault.
brother.
That's it. I only lose to Andrew, and that's about it.
Yeah, I hate you. Also on Saturday we have the dive kick tournament.
And on Sunday we're here with Grand Blue Fantasy Versus.
As always. Then also we got the KI event on the 30th of this month. And so
Yeah.
make sure to sign up to that. And yeah. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us on Ronin Rambles, the Ronin Ramble podcast. And let's I'm gonna raid Core A Gaming. because he has been putting that grind on Twitch, and I think he deserves to get more more viewers, if anything. And check out his videos. His videos are just amazing.
Yeah,
So
Very helpful.
thank you once again, thank you again, Kevin, for joining us, and we shall see you guys later. Bye.
Take it easy, guys.
Late.